Hey, good day, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Um, Once again, I'm still in the middle of actually doing a stream. I really want to focus on just kind of economic stuff of for average folks. But anyway, as you probably all know, this past week has been something. Um, Honestly, it's unprecedented. Uh, in my lifetime, some of the things that I'm hearing and seeing that's coming out. So I want to talk a little bit about this whole where we're going with the United States, Israel, and Iran. And I'm not here to try to change anybody's minds. Everybody's already kind of made up on this kind of stuff. But I would like people just to really kind of think and consider. Um, don't let passions get the best of you. Um, I don't, whether you're kind of anti war and you're against this, or you're totally on Israel's side, or you want to go nuke them and turn the desert, whatever it is, you do you. But I just want folks to think about things. And I'm going to try and point out a couple of stuff here. So, well, let's go see. All right, let me kind of cruise over here. All right, let me hop on a different screen. Okay, of course, as you know, um, things have been not unfolding as the Israelis, I don't think, really thought. I think that there was this notion that they could just do some airstrikes and it would just totally, it's going to take what they're looking for. And the story is here is that with these strikes, they're going to disable Iran's nuclear capability, which, by the way, they're signers of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel is not. Israel has nukes, doesn't sign the NPT. Iran doesn't have nukes, has signed it. What is the importance of the Non-Proliferation Treaty? Well, this is what allows the IAEA inspectors to come in and inspect, make sure that everybody's up to snuff. Are you doing what you say you're going to do? So a little bit of that kind of an issue here. Trump scrapped the thing that one of the few things I give Obama credit for with the JPOC stuff. He got him to agree to it. They adhered to it. Trump got in and he scrapped the deal. His last term. Personally, I think it was one of the dumbest things Trump ever did. And of course, at that point, I mean, the Iranians are no longer obligated to kind of adhere to that. Americans pulled out. So, anyway, the idea here is that we're going to do some airstrikes, take out their capability of enriching. And that's what a lot of the bitching is about. There's a small percentage of enrichment that lets you use stuff like nuke plants, things like that. There's a little bit higher level of enrichment, like 20 some odd or something percent. This allows things for radioisotope stuff for doing various medical stuff. And I don't know the exact number where the Iranians had it, but it was pretty high. I mean, it was up there like 70, 80% or something. And their point is look, we don't plan on making a nuke, but we're reserving the right if, shit goes sideways. If we feel that they're cornered to, we want the ability to be able to make a nuke. And sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, I just sometimes wonder, it's like, would it be in people's best interest, even though there's a theocratic kind of fundamentalist folks out there, as scary as that is, and it's scary, let's not kid ourselves. Um, People are talking about the Libya model. Well, the Libya model was NATO, the US, UN, everybody got Libya to say, look, give up any of your nukes and any desires for these sorts of things. We'll call it off. We'll chill. So Gaddafi did. And look what happened. Gaddafi ended up with a bayonet up his kazoo. Pictures on everywhere. Remember Hillary Clinton? We came, we saw, we bombed, and he's dead. I mean, she actually took joy in that. What a sick person. So it's kind of here we are. And the idea of these strikes is the United States, with Israel, with the help of the United States, mostly funding at this point, as well as some intel and support from Navy and some aircraft stuff. Um, they're going to take out Iran's ability to produce nukes. And even though Tulsi Gabbard, our director of national intelligence, said they're not even pursuing it. Well, the idea is what we're being told is we're going to take out the ability for these folks to be able to make a nuke, which even our own intelligence said, and our own military, by the way, said, I don't know, Fokum or Fordham or whatever, we're going to be able to actually do this. Thing's buried in a mountain. We have no idea of its architecture under street. It would take, as most people, even in our own military, are saying, one of our bunker buster nuke type bombs to take it out. Okay, we're getting into some scary territory here. The other kind of concept is if the U.S. and Israel strike Iran, the hope is to destabilize the government. The people are going to rise up, topple the supreme theocratic leader, and bring democracy. Let me ask you something, and I'm being sincere. I'm asking you to ask yourself when 9/11 happened and Sunni Muslims, Saudis, flew planes into the World Trade Center. Were the American people thinking we need to topple George Bush? Fuck no. Everybody's going to rally around the president. In fact, his approval ratings go through the ceiling. He became just the most popular guy ever. Of course, that's what happens. Um, it happens over and over again. Anytime you corner any society and you create this kind of common threat that's something that's they might not like their theocratic leaders, but compared to the United States and Israel, okay, well, we're going to hate them even more. It's just foolish. And it's either we're not understanding this because we're stupid, and literally our government and military and intelligence are just stupid. And foolish as they may be, I don't think they're stupid. So there's obviously has to be something else behind this. Is there really people seriously thinking that this is a good idea? Do they think that they're just it's nonsense? Let's cut to the chase. It's nonsense. So here's a couple of things that I want you to consider. Sincerely, ask yourself this. All right, go ahead and pull this up. Let me get my ugly mug out of this picture so we can focus on this. And here is a map of Iran. I don't think people really appreciate just how big Iran actually is. Um, it's an enormous country. It's huge. I mean, it's half the size of all of Europe, for Christ's sakes. It's like a third of the size of the United States. All right, this is no joke. It's enormous. Now, let me go ahead and hop over here. Let me share this tab with you. We all know about what's going on in Ukraine. And guess what? Iran is like, what, twice the size of Ukraine, thereabouts? The Russians have been here for 3 years, all along this entire southern border, all the way from the Dnieper, all the way up to Dnieper. Well, not quite Dnieper, about around Zaporozhye into the Donetsk. There's a chance that there's this whole area. And of course, they're pushing in here now on Sumy region, so where the Russians ingrid. Look, this is a huge land. We're talking hundreds of thousands of troops involved here. It's nuts. 3 years. Look, Ukrainians, no matter what you think about them, they're legit serious people. I wouldn't want to fight them. For Christ's sakes, these are some seriously tough folks. The Russians have been stuck here for 3 years. And I keep in mind, the United States has been funneling, as we all know, all your taxpayer dollars and mine to the tunes of billions. We're up to over $300 billion right now in weapons, arms, money, and the Ukrainians are getting their asses kicked. Down here, little country of Israel, which is also basically funded by the United States, which, by the way, per capita, I think has a better standard of living than even America. I mean, they get free health care. So we got basically what amounts to the typical problem with foreign aid money. You get poor people like me and you in a rich country, the United States, get to send our money to basically wealthier people in a wealthier country in this case. I wouldn't call it wealthy. Um, Rich people in a poor country. How about that? It got a good zing to it, but you get the point. Now, these folks think that you can actually come in here with some missiles and Air Force and take over this country, Iran, a third of the size of the United States. Guess what? Iran has 90 million people, almost 91 million people. 91 million people. Get your mind around that. It's a big number. It's a really big number. Keep in mind, Iraq in 2003 had 26.8 million people. We were there, what, 20 years? We're actually still there. There are still troops in Iraq to this day. We've been there since 2003. More than 20 years, 23 years, 24 years. We are still there fighting. Just get your mind around that. We're literally going to think that we're going to have a regime change or somehow, what, topple Iran? That's literally got, what, 3, 4 times as many people as Iraq did? And after 25 years, Iraq is what? Look at the Taliban in Afghanistan. We spent 20 some odd years there, trillions of dollars, thousands of lives to take the Taliban and give it back to the Taliban. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Now, keep in mind, I want to share another number with you. In the Middle East, over 7,000 men and women, soldiers, have died in the post 9/11 wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Over 7,000. Okay, we're not up to like Vietnam numbers of what, 58,600 or 700. I forget off the top of my head. But that's not a small number. 7,000 people. This is no joke. All right? Now, another thing I want you to keep in mind. What's recently happened? Up here in Moscow, not long ago, the Ukrainians, and I ain't going to lie, it was a brilliant bit of strategy. They infiltrated all the way up here into the Arctic, all the way out here into Siberia. And we struck the plains, as we know. And of course, the media touts this as this huge success. It's a what do you want to call it? A media coup. And yeah, the Ukrainians did some damage. Enough to change anything? Of course not. But one of the other things that they tried to do was assassinate Putin. And what does that sound like? Who else really assassinates a lot of people? It's kind of got that Mossad kind of flavor to it, doesn't it? I guarantee you that Putin is thinking that. Because what else has recently happened? Well, Mossad has assassinated what now? Several Iranian leaders, military personnel, and stuff. Okay. What's the other thing that they've done during these attacks? They did the same thing that what basically Ukraine did up into Russia. The fingerprints of Mossad, MI6, and the CIA are all over this. And trust me, it's not just Putin who's thinking this. It's all of BRICS. It's all the rest of the world. They're thinking, holy shit, decapitation, which is clearly a Mossad kind of a goal in this kind of stuff. Don't think that this doesn't have some effect on what the rest of the world's thinking. I think a lot of the world is just waiting to see how things kind of play out, which side to kind of pick on. Now, keep in mind, prior to all the things that have been taking place here in the past 4 years, prior to that, anytime any country stood up to the United States, they ended up like Iraq. They've ended up like Libya. They ended up like Lebanon, Syria, Somalia, Sudan. So people, the United States with a heavy stick kind of kept the world in order. Like it or not, good or bad, regardless of what your thoughts are. But that's changing. And I think a lot of this is the BRICS, and you hear a lot of stuff about BRICS nations, especially people like Brent Johnson, who's really into finance. And Brent Johnson poo-poos BRICS all the time, as do a lot of people in the financial space. And I get it. There's, kind of a pro-American, they look down upon these sorts of things of just, and I get where they're coming from, because there's some people that are out there, it's the end of the world, gold's everything, the dollar's crashing, it's the end of U.S. financial hegemony in the world or whatever. Well, yeah, that day will come. Probably not soon, or as soon as many people think. I look at stuff like BRICS more like I would look at a human body dealing with diabetes. It's this low-grade illness you don't think about. You go about your life day by day and you don't notice anything. You're not feeling horrible. It's not like you got some stomach pains or headache or something. No, it's this low-grade like rust eating away at your body. And then one day you're getting one of your foot chopped off because you had a small infection from a mosquito bite, or you lose your eyesight. And then all of a sudden, diabetes occurs to you as a really serious thing. But by that point, you're pretty far gone. Well, this is what's happening here geopolitically. And again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. It's BRICS, even China, Russia, everybody together is not going to beat up the United States in a equal match fist fight or something, although we're not in a good financial state. We shouldn't be doing this. And so, in addition to basically the numbers of this, here's another thing that's taking place. Just to give you an idea, the talk right now is, and this is from, this is the Wall Street Journal. Israel's running low on defensive interceptors, officials say. Okay. Wow. Okay. Everybody's touted the Iron Dome and all of this, which is the arrows, the David slings, Patriots, THAAD, all these various methods of counteracting things like drones from the Houthis and stuff like this, or primitive rockets from Hamas being shot across the border or something. That I think they grotesquely underestimated Iran's ability to deal with this. And it's not just the Wall Street Journal, it's the Times of Israel, for Pete's sakes. It's nuts. And real quick here, let me go ahead and pull this one up. I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to watch this real quick, or at least part of it. I want to show you this is just the other night. So let me hush and let you listen. Okay, you get the point. Personally, I found it pretty distasteful. But then again, I see what's going on in Gaza, and I find that pretty distasteful. The point is, um, what we're watching kind of take place here is, I think the Israelis are getting their asses spanked way more than they thought they would. Is this the end of Israel? No, this, again, nobody wins wars with missiles and air forces. That takes boots on the ground. Keep in mind, though, Israel's not in the best financial straits right now. And again, neither is Iran. And I'm not trying to gloss over the fact that Iran isn't taking it on the chin. Oh, they absolutely are. Um, let's see here. The Israelis and stuff are doing a lot of damage in Iran. Clearly, there's no doubt about it. Is it enough to really kind of change things? There's a couple other things that are actually taking place. And this is something else that I don't think people are paying much attention to. And that is this: 90% of all of Iran's oil exports go to China. China has a great deal of interest in it. And you've probably seen pictures of the basically like Chinese spy ships, if you will, or radio intelligence and things of this nature. Now, keep in mind, just was it not even a month ago? It was about a month ago now. It was the end of May. China has opened up from, what was it, Shenzhou, Chongqing? I can't remember which city it was, but there's a rail line that connects all the way into uh, Tehran in Iran. So they don't even have to ship this stuff. Not to mention the planes that are coming in. Now, keep in mind, China is is an extremely energy hungry country. You know, it's all the way from here to here. There's now a rail line, so they don't have to bring it by ships. They've got multiple ways they can use by ships. They've been flying stuff in, but now they got a railway. Um, China has invested a lot in Iran, and another thing that's not being seen is the Russians came out there. Putin the other day says, "Look, we've got 600, I guess, basically technicians at Bushehr and some other place, actually at their nuclear facilities, going, they're not leaving." Contrary to what you might be hearing, the Russians got a lot of investment in it, and the Russians, the Chinese, the Turks, a lot of these people they're condemning this. Many European countries. Is that going to stop Israel in the United States? I don't know. I really don't know if it will. Um, it's serious, and even more serious. I'm going to share this last thing before I just wrap this up. This came out. Yeah, you're reading that right. Trump considers tactical nuclear bomb on Iran's Fordo site. This is the site where they're doing a lot of the enrichment. And the Fordo site, I don't know if they could pull up the picture, but it's buried deep within a mountain. It's something they estimate between 150 to 300 feet deep. Um, there's a lot of argument and debate. Will American bunker busters actually be able to do it? Would it require more than one? How many sorties? You know, when you're flying something like a B 52 that's got a huge radar signature and you got to get closer, where you might actually have to cross the border in Iran, okay? It's one thing we've been hearing is basically the Israelis and Americans are kind of stopping right along the border, and we're just dealing. I mean, they have standoff weapons that are able to reach Tehran and some of these sites here. There's a whole rest of the country here full of stuff. There's bases all over the country that's full of missiles, stockpiles of this or that. Keep in mind, Iran has developed an entire defensive doctrine ever since the 80s, based, according to our own intelligence, based more on a defensive thing. They knew with all the sanctions, they could never compete with a Navy and Air Force and stuff like this. They didn't have the ability to do it. So they went niche and they invested heavily in things like air defense, medium range ballistic missiles, uh, small naval assets like torpedo boats, and hypersonic ship missiles. Why? We know why. The Straits of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil comes to this little tiny strait right here. If this gets closed off for any reason for a week or two at a time, you're going to watch gas at the pump again probably be $6, $7 a gallon. It's no joke. If gas was to remain high for any length of time, uh, it could kill the economy. I mean, we're already on a knife's edge with the economy. So, look, there's a lot of honestly kind of frightening things that are taking place. And I think it would be in our best interest to be honest about what are the chances of Israel, with or without the United States, having any kind of success of basically curtailing Iran's desire to do whatever now. Strangely enough, they've been reasonably compliant. Um, Depending on how hard Russia and China want to step in on this, it can change the dynamic of this in an instant. The fact that all of a sudden we're hearing things like the United States is actually considering something like a tactical nuke bunker buster is this is unheard of. This is unprecedented. I mean, get your mind around this. This is the kind of stuff that ends up leading to the end of the human species, for Pete's sakes. This is no joke. This is not laughable. It's pretty despicable. And regardless of how you feel it, I really truly wish that calmer heads would prevail. I really wish we had an adult foreign policy. Is this the deep state? Shit if I know, man. I'm not plugged into this, although I'm trying to get a couple of guests on that probably know more in their little finger than I will in a lifetime. Um, is it deep state? Is it the influence of Israel and Israeli intelligence or APAC or thing? There's a lot of influence of Israel on our, especially our intel and military. Um, I don't know where any of this stuff's going. And my biggest fear is, as much as I've tried to give Trump credit for some things, I do think that in some ways he's got a right general picture of what he imagines that he wants the United States and things more America to be. And there's some of that stuff I agree with, even to today. But his erratic nature and this just spout shit off on True Social and um, this is not how you do diplomacy. Um, I think literally every leader that has ever been the leader of the United States of America would be absolutely shitting bricks over just this infantile, this almost like a petulant child kind of an attitude, this erratic. Um, this is no place for this in foreign policy. And there's no place for it in the financial circles, but foreign policy, this is the kind of stuff that leads to great wars. And I don't know. This is what I oppose. So I just want you folks to consider. I mean, look at all the things that are going on here. Um, I've tried to run this over my mind many times. I've tried to be open minded. I listen to other people's opinions of it and and I just cannot help but come to the same conclusion. No matter how much I try to do mental gymnastics to try to say that there's some positive potential outcome for doing this. I'm sorry. I tried to do what I could to stop the war that took place in Iraq. I literally got on C SPAN and debated this guy named Max Boot. What an absolute tool and an asshole. And I brought up the Project for a New American Century. The guy calls me a conspiracy theory on air. And the cool thing about at least the guy on C SPAN is he pulled up the website and goes, "Well, it's not really a conspiracy. Here it is." And there it was in the opening documents, you know. I felt redeemed. One of the most redeeming times of my life. I was like, look, this dumb dirt leg with an internet connection still on dial up can figure this stuff out. What the hell's my government doing? So I can only assume they obviously know, but they're going to do something anyway. And I'm feeling like we're repeating it. It's the same lines. I'm hearing literally the same stuff in the news. They're pushing the same people out there. I mean, for Pete's sakes. Last time I had a little podcast about this, I talked about Lindsey Graham. No matter where Lindsey Graham goes, he's like a plague. He's like a pit bull with AIDS. My God, you want to run away from this guy? He's a lunatic, an absolute madman. And I'm watching this stuff. We all saw Ted Cruz on Tucker Carlson, and they're going into this dispensationalist, religious kind of Jews, God chosen people. We're ordained by God to do this, and I ain't gonna lie, it scares an absolute ever loving shit out of me. Who the hell is running the show right now? I don't know, but it isn't rational adults. So stop, think about it. I appreciate you stopping by. Buy me a coffee, man. Give it a like, give it a subscribe. If nothing else, like, share. I appreciate you guys stopping by. And please, I hope at least some of the people that actually listen are folks that are calmer, more reasonable human beings. I think if there was ever a time in my 50 some odd plus years of existence, I can't scream from the rafters loud enough that now's the time for cool heads to prevail. But I thank you for stopping by and catch you again later. Take care.